Let's just start with the one that on paper is supposed to come last place. But I actually think there's even an interesting discussion there. This even ties in what I was talking about before about up-and-coming players and people have moved up. It's got to be OG, of course. Right, on paper, OG are the one that's like, look, you would have put like a Cloud9 or someone in that spot if you wanted to have the absolute best teams in the world, or maybe in current form of Furia or something. But not only did they true, it is a bit scuffed, the qualification, I will say, as to how they got there. It's not really that great. Like, they did like one little run at the first fucking spring finals, basically. But with that said, I actually think people are going to sleep on this team because they're going to just see, like, on Liquipedia, like, they didn't even do anything. They came last for like the major of it. It's like, this team actually has fucking skill in it, boys. Like, I don't, it has flaws, clearly, but I actually think these players are probably underrated in terms of skill. What do you think, King T? What do you think of OG?
Well, skill's not really the debate here. I think anyone who's watched them, who knows who these players are, should be aware that they're highly skilled. They've got great fragging potential. Neofrag is he's one of the, I think he's episode 2 of Prospects. I believe he's quite an OG one in that sense. But he's really come leaps and bounds, but he still plays the same sorts of things. He's high impact positions. You flash him into fights. You let him take like the challenges on Vertigo and Ramp, these sorts of brawls, and he'll win a lot of them. The problem this team has really is Fiku isn't another star player. And with Dexter not really firing off at the same level he was in Spirit, their frag first, think later sort of play style has let them down. But that's also kind of what makes them dangerous. You come into this, you think, they're not fragging too hard. Sorry. We're not going to have too much tactics to deal with them, like from them. Maybe we'll be okay just coasting, but they'll probably come into this event with low expectations, knowing this is their last chance to have a big impact at the end of the year. And I think they'll turn up the frags, and yet, as you said, really dangerous coming into this, not to be discounted.
What do you think, Paladin? Where are they at for you?
I think definitely their peaks are fantastic. There's no denying that. But we have also seen a lot of the low lows that this team has shown so far. I think back to ESL Challenger Melbourne, where they're dropping maps and series against Chinese teams of Wings Up. And that's basically where kind of all of the firepower that you want to hit those peaks kind of just disappear. You have Neofrag, who, yes, I think that he definitely can deliver certain high-impact series, but it's not consistent enough to be that second man alongside Dexter. And as you said before, King T, I think Fiku has always been a very glaring issue for this team overall. He has very difficult roles, yes, but overall, he hasn't been able to kind of at least showcase that he is good in those roles, if that. I mean, he's a very young player, still has time to develop and whatnot. But for this roster and this set of 5 players, I don't think he's cut out to play this level just yet. I think that he's got a lot to go. And it's been this way, not even from the get-go. It's been like this for all of the 6 months that he's been on this roster. I haven't been impressed by him very much. And overall, I think beyond Dexter, I haven't consistently seen a second man that can follow up with what he's providing to the table. And that's my issue overall with OG, that they can't reach those peaks consistently. Beyond the spring finals, I haven't seen anything that suggests to me that this team deserves to be in the top 10.
It's funny because I know... go on, King T, jump in.
Sorry, I should step in there because we have kind of both seemingly forgotten FlameZ, who is the top performer on this team really recently. Dexter has not been himself. The last 3 to 6 months, last few big events they've played at, Dexter has not been close to that spirit level. That's actually been FlameZ really the best player of the team. It's just then what do you follow up with when Dexter's not free ball and do whatever he wants, taking all these picks? If he's still got that freedom and he's putting up these numbers and you're not getting the results, then you have to start reining him in and start thinking about other plans, because FlameZ has actually been fine. Just Dexter's been the big issue, and then Neofrag hasn't been able to basically fill the void, because that's kind of what you'd hope from that point onwards, is that Neofrag would step into that void, and he hasn't. So for me, it's weird. We didn't mention FlameZ. It feels like he's such a fixture in the team. We always forget, because he does rarely drop off, but he has been fine. It's more the rest of the team we have to talk about.
Yeah, the thing with this team for me is people will know I'm like a critic of Nexa as an IGL. I actually think, by the way, as a player, he's a good player. He's actually a pretty decent fragger, even as an IGL he frags, which is sort of what's got him by in G2 and then now in this team. But I have to say, the reason why on this particular lineup, I'm also not that impressed. Although I will say, I'll probably try and do some content with him and try and get his perspective on leading. So he's a very amiable guy, if people don't know. Like, he is someone who could definitely take criticism. I just have never personally had like a public interaction with him. I've only like DM'd him a few times. But basically, my issue is, since I agree he could be a good fragging IGL, it's like, bro, where is all this firepower in the actual game? Like, when I look on paper, if he's going to be like a fraggy IGL, every other player we just mentioned can frag. Like, the joke there is Ficku's supposed to be your second worst player. And then you've got people like Flames has had now a couple of years to develop. Dexter looked amazing on Spirit. Like, if Neo frag only has to be a second or third, but you know what I mean? Like, this team should have produced way more than it has thus far. So I am concerned about, like, I don't think the mix has worked. And another thing I've noticed in Counter-Strike that's a bit weird, it reminds me actually a little bit of how sports tend to work. Another reason, I know this isn't a super team, but another reason stacking too many skilled players who could be like your 1 or 2 option don't seem to work is because what happens is you actually find that the ones who don't get that star role just like that, you in your mind you think, right, well, they'll like frag just like 80% of what they know. They tend to actually just become bang average players, and especially if you've given them like specific spots or roles that aren't even about being like some mad frag, they just won't be that good. You'll find like this every time. You'll keep going. But imagine if they all came online at the same time. It's like, that never happens, mate. Like, that's the problem. I almost think, as mad as it sounds, part of it's maybe the youth of pros in esports. I almost think, like, for real, like a team like Vitality is a way easier mess to figure out than this is. Because in Vitality, it's just obvious. Like for example, when you watch Vitality, so we know Zero's going to be amazing. Now the question is, how do we work Spinks? Like, it's streamlined. You know where you want certain people. You know you want the experience, where you want the calling, where you want the like fucking the support play. You know where all this. In a team like this, I feel like this is a really good set of players, but I don't think they've figured out the mix. So if they have, certain people have never got the memo and aren't doing the role that suited them in their past teams. Like, some of these players were better in their past. Even Dexter, quite frankly, in the example there, yeah, like when he was on Spirit, he looked eye test wise like a guaranteed. You drop him in any team, plug and play, amazing instantly. But I agree, he's been slightly underwhelming. He still puts up numbers, but that's the thing. I had higher expectations. I thought this guy really could be like top 10 player in the world or something crazy, you know, and really like push the boat out. So they've been a bit underwhelming for me. The reason why, though, I think it's actually perfect for an event like this, though, is because not only do they have all this skill, but I also think logically, in light of what I said in the preamble, they should have zero pressure at this event. Nobody's going to shit on them if they come last place. In the way that the tournament works and the names, even if you, by the way, just lose close games, people will probably give you credit. And by the way, if you get any upsets, if you get any scalps, and remember, they're actually starting out against the heroic team, the one that has the stand-in, so they're even potentially going to play a team that's never played like an official game together. So, like, I think there is some upset potential for this team. I don't think they can make a deep run, but I wouldn't be surprised if they win maps and maybe even that series. What do you think?
I think of all the teams that should be picking into Anubis, that's definitely one perspective about this. It's a wild card pick. You're a wild card team.
Yes.
If you want to throw a curveball into the veto, you definitely have the capabilities to do so. Maybe not against Heroic in the opening round, because they can probably just permaban it outright. But against Navi or Vitality in that lower bracket, I mean, I think it's totally fine to use that, or even in the upper final if they do manage to get a series win. And that in and of itself could completely change the dimension of the tournament altogether, just because of that one map. You've got plenty of time to prepare for that map in particular, with not being able to play in the fall final. I think all signs are pointing to them trying to curve the veto into their favor.
By the way, one thing I thought we could also do on this is we don't have to, like, everyone doesn't have to be like a full preview of the team. Just hit whatever points or angles you have on each team. So do you want to go to the next team? Do you have a point to finish off on, King T there?
No, I just felt, just to add on to that idea, they do not really have a good pick to go to right now. Like, their best map they've picked, like results-wise, has been Inferno. That's not exactly a map most teams want to pick. It's a map you need for third, otherwise you're going to get out-vetoed. So, yeah, Anubis, great idea to go into it, prep it hard, pick it, and see if you can win some of those brawls, because when a map is new and not figured out, you are going to get a lot more of these messy encounters, big fights everywhere. This could be a map they should lean into.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.